Well, hello, my dear friends. Justyn Smith here with a Heart for Revival Ministries, and I'd like to welcome you to our midweek message at this time as we're moving our way through the New Testament, and we are freshly in the book of Mark, the Gospel according to Mark. And I love reading these Gospel accounts with the different stories that took place from the different angles of the unique personalities of different people who witnessed the Lord Jesus' life and then his death, burial, and resurrection. Therefore, the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And right now we have a wonderful story here in Mark chapter 2, and this story is special for me because it was noted as my favorite story when I was a child. Now, I understand that there were many stories in the Bible that I did not comprehend or know about at the time, but when you talk about Sunday school stories or stories that mom and dad would tell you from the scriptures, this one was chosen by me as my favorite story in the Bible. And I'm calling it today, Jesus Saw Their Faith. There's something important about the faith that is displayed here by the people that Jesus recognized, and it made a difference for the man that is in the story that is sick, that needs the help of Christ. Jesus saw their faith, the faith of those, specifically in Mark 2, who are going to bring this man who is sick of the palsy to Jesus Christ. And this has been a story throughout my life that has challenged me in the area of my faith. What type of faith am I displaying? Am I displaying faith at all that Jesus is seeing? So as I talk about Jesus seeing their faith, let's begin by looking at verse 1 and 2 of Mark 2. And again, he, referring to Jesus, entered into Capernaum after some days. And it was noised that he, Jesus, was in the house. And I love what's about to take place as everyone was hearing that Jesus was in the house. It says in verse 2, straightway many were gathered together, insomuch that there was no room to receive them, no, not so much as about the door. And he preached the word unto them. So, no room to receive them. We have to understand this is a packed house as Jesus was noised to be in the house. And what Jesus does is something that is amazing. He has a crowd that's gathered to him, and he preaches the word unto them. And what a phenomenal testimony that is of what the Son of Man came to do in part. And that was to preach. He had several other things that his purpose was to fulfill while he walked on this earth before his crucifixion. One of those is preaching the word to people, preaching the truth of the gospel unto them. And that leads us to a first thought today. There is a unified decision. When we look at Mark chapter 2, Jesus seeing their faith, we notice that this faith is saturated in a unified decision. A unified decision. It says this in verse number 3 very simply, they come unto him, bringing one sick of the palsy, which was born of 4, which just simply means they were bringing him to Jesus, carrying the 4 corners of his bed, if you will. They would take their muscles and their might, understanding one person could drag somebody, but it was so much better to have a couple or a few different people bringing this man to Christ, therefore helping by way of joy, helping by way of the promises of God, helping bring somebody to Jesus Christ. I want you to think about the unified decisions in your life and how much better it is to do things together. When you are unified with each other in a moment, when you are unified in a decision to help the hurting, when you are unified in taking a person to Jesus, it changes everything. Think about the home, for instance. Think about when a mom and dad are unified in church, unified in money matters, unified in the workplace understanding, unified in how we are going to do this or do that. It brings a peace to the situations of life. It brings just a greater dynamic and movement in one specific direction because you're not being pulled in multiple directions. This unified decision wasn't, we're going to take this person to this doctor over here. Well, no, I want to take this person to this doctor over here. No, they all had the same motive. We are going to bring this man to Jesus. And they were all moving in the same direction. I don't know if you've ever played the game in a youth group setting or some other setting where you have one of those big circle ropes, like the tug-of-war ropes, those thick ropes, and you have it wrapped around a group of people. And that people are sitting on the ground, and the people have to get up, and then they have to move in a particular direction. And you're trying to get everybody to move in the same direction, though they are tightly bound with this rope. That means some of those people are moving backwards, some of them are moving forward, some of them are moving right, some of them are moving left, based upon how they were standing when the rope is put around them. And when they all make a unified decision as to which way they are going to go, how they're going to get up at the same time, it truly helps in getting to the destination on time in an orderly manner. A unified decision to bring people to Jesus Christ is huge, and we see it right here in this particular chapter of Mark. They came unto him, bringing one sick of the palsy, which was born of 4, which leads us to an uncommon display. So a unified decision leads to an uncommon display. One of the reasons I've liked the uniqueness of this particular story, which many of the stories of Christ have unique stories that are falling in the background of them or in the forefront. And in this particular story, what you find is an uncommon display of these people to do this. Verse number 4, when they could not come nigh unto him for the press, they uncovered the roof where he, Jesus, was, and when they had broken it up, they let down the bed wherein the sick of the palsy lay. That's the uncommon display. They wouldn't let a crowd hinder them. When they thought outside the box, but still inside the Word, as far as like, you know what, we have to do something different, but we are going to still get this one to the Word. We're still going to get this one to Jesus Christ. This is a little bit different. It hasn't been done like this before. It might draw attention, but that's okay. We have the primary goal of getting this man to Christ, and therefore there was an uncommon display by the unified decision of these 4 men, because they were determined to get the sick to Jesus Christ. So as you consider all that has taken place right here, you must understand there was a decision for the truth against error. You know what? We could just, we tried to do what we thought was right, but we were hindered by the crowd of people. I guess we're just going to set this man down, get him as close as we can, and then we're going to go home. No, it wasn't enough to just bring this man that was sick of the palsy to the outskirts of Christ. They wanted to bring him to the feet of Jesus, and that meant an uncommon display of tearing apart this particular roof. We don't know that if it was one of theirs, or if they were related, or if they said, you know what, I can work and fix this, or if they just, you know what, it doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter if we can fix it or not. What matters is getting this man to Jesus. And so they broke up the roof. They let down the bed where the sick of the palsy lay. And if you know the rest of the story, you can imagine it wouldn't have mattered how big the hole was. This man was healed. What did I just see today? I saw something amazing. Oh yeah, they had to break up the roof, but I'm so glad they got this man to Jesus Christ. There was a unified decision. There was an uncommon display, and I want to ask you, what roofs are you going to have to break up to bring somebody to Jesus? What effort are you going to have to put in to bring somebody to Jesus? It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to pick up the bed. You're going to have to walk up the stairs. You're going to have to take up the roof. You're going to have to let the man down. All that this man or this woman may find Jesus in your life. It's going to take effort. It's going to take an uncommon display based upon a unified decision. Souls are important. Notice point number 3 in this message, there's an unchangeable direction. An unchangeable direction. Now, I bring this up in this story because these men, got to the point where they had made a decision. It's all or nothing. We should not back down. Notice the verse again. And when they could not come nigh unto him for the press, they gave up. Nope, they didn't give up. They put themselves in this understanding and mindset. We are going one way, and that is to Jesus. So they uncovered the roof where he was, and when they had broken it up, they let down the bed where the sick of the palsy lay. The men who were carrying the sick of the palsy, put themselves in a decision where there's no looking back. This is an unchangeable direction. We're starting to tear apart the roof. There's no looking back now, and we want to bring this man to Jesus. You see, to these men said, it's all or nothing if we're going to see this man healed. When they gave it all, it meant that they were completely committed. And have you ever been volunteered for something and you really weren't wholly committed at first, but then when you got into it, you gave it everything? Or maybe you saw how important it was once you got into it, and then you're like, you know what, this is the best thing ever. I'm going to be back again. I'm going to give my all. I want to be completely committed. For them, there was no turning back because the goal was Jesus. I remember this quote one time that I came across, and I don't know who the quote was made by, but the only time success comes before work is in the dictionary. Think about that for just a second. The only time that success comes before work is in the dictionary because, alphabetical order. Success comes before work. In this particular story, we are reminded that the work came before the success. They had to work to get this man to Jesus. You've heard the song, "We'll work till Jesus comes." You've heard the book of James, where a man is going to show you his faith by his works. And certainly these men had faith in what Jesus could do. Therefore, they were going to show forth the works to bring forth this man salvation as well as his healing. They didn't know what all it could bring, but they were just part of an unchangeable direction. We want to get this man to Jesus, and we will stop at nothing but getting this man to Jesus. And it was proved by the roof they removed and the letting down of this man to Christ. Therefore, we hear this undeserving declaration. Point number 4, an undeserving declaration. Notice what I'm talking about in verse number 5. When Jesus saw their faith, and there's the title of the message. Okay, because Jesus saw their faith. Jesus saw the faith of the 4 that brought this man to Jesus. We have to understand the part of the faith that was seen was the understanding that these men went up the stairs. They carried this man that was sick of the palsy. They then uprooted the roof, and then they lowered with their strength this man to Jesus. And Jesus understood this is an action of faith. This is faith-filled displays of love for this man to be brought before me. When Jesus saw their faith. And there's different ways that you exercise your faith. You exercise your faith with finances. You exercise your faith with faithfulness to the things of the Lord. You exercise your faith in the Word. You exercise your faith in prayer. You ask the Lord to increase your faith. There's just lots of ways to show your faith to the Lord. When Jesus saw their faith, he said unto the sick of the palsy. He didn't say anything to the ones that carried this man to him. As far as we know, what is recorded right here, he doesn't pat on the back. Now, there has to be something that is understood, because of your faith. Okay, I see your faith, and maybe there was something commended, okay, or maybe it was just the fact that the author here by inspiration is cluing us into something that only God knows. It's a display of what these men have done. They went the extra mile on behalf of this man, therefore it was faith. Jesus saw their faith. He said, so he speaks to the one who is sick. Okay, the ones who were healthy didn't need the physician, okay, and that's another teaching from another place that Jesus Christ would teach. So Jesus takes the faith of the healthy and speaks to the one who is sick. Son, thy sins be forgiven thee. Now, we're not going to take time to look at it, but there's this dialogue with Jesus and what the Pharisees are thinking, and Jesus is going to prove himself to them. So Jesus says, son, thy sins be forgiven thee, which is huge, okay? The Pharisees think Jesus is blasphemous for saying this because who can forgive sins but God only? But then notice what it says in verse 10, 11, and 12, where Jesus responds, but that ye may know that the Son of Man hath power on earth to forgive sins, he saith to the sick of the palsy, there he is again, speaking to the one who has need, I say unto thee, arise, take up thy bed, and go thy way into thy house. And immediately he arose, took up the bed, and went forth before them all, insomuch that they were all amazed and glorified God, saying, we never saw it on this fashion. Okay, Jesus saw the faith of the men that bore the man to Jesus. But now these who were in the crowd saw a miracle that they've never seen on this fashion before. And it's all because of the faith of the men to bring somebody to Jesus in the first place. And then Jesus was correcting the thoughts of the Pharisaical minds as he displayed he is the Son of God. He has power to heal. He has power to forgive sins. He has power over all things. Jesus saw their faith. So let me recap. In this story, we see a unified decision. They bring a man sick to Jesus. There was an uncommon display. They went up the stairs because they couldn't get in through the front door because of all the people. They took up the roof. They let the man down to Jesus. That is an uncommon display. It was an unchangeable direction. They had a mindset that they weren't going to turn back, and they did something to make that happen. Almost like a bridge that was burnt. They took up the roof. It's all or nothing. We're taking this man to Jesus Christ. And then there was an undeserving declaration that was given. Jesus forgives sins. Jesus heals the man. The man gets up. The man walks away, all because of the power of Christ. He was healed physically. He was healed spiritually. God did something so great, and there is that statement in the middle of the story that our message hinges on today, when Jesus saw their faith. When Jesus saw their faith. What type of faith does Jesus see in our lives today? What is God seeing? What is God noting about our belief in who he is and what his promises say? How are we moving upon them, and what are we attempting to do for the glory of God because of the faith that we have? So I encourage you to use this prayer before God. Lord, increase our faith. It is a prayer the disciples used. It is a prayer that is found in the Bible. It is something that we can see saturated throughout the Word of God, Old Testament and New Testament. God is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him, and the way that we diligently seek him is through faith. For without faith it is impossible to please him. But he that believeth that God is must believe that God is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Seek God today. Show him the faith that you have and who he is and what he can do, and allow him to do the works that only he can. I want to thank you again for click and play. I do wish you the best of days, and I trust and pray that you will join us again on our next broadcast very soon.